Good evening. I'm really honored to come and be a part of this first series, the speaker of the first series of 2016-2017. Obviously, I have a great interest in entrepreneurship, and that's why we gave the university money to establish an entrepreneurship program here. I believe it's really the core of our economy. Is all great businesses had to start with an entrepreneur. Ford Motor, for example, IBM, Google, any of the great large businesses that are thriving today have come about because there was someone who had a vision, someone who had a dream, and then they was able to execute on that dream. And there may be some of you in this room here this evening who will build the next great business. But even said, entrepreneurship is a journey. It's not a one-stop sort of a thing. It means you start something, you learn, you grow, you may fail, and then you move on to the next opportunity, and so on and so on. Very few business leaders who started a business were successful right out of the chute. It would be rare. So as I talk with you tonight, it'll be about some principles that will guide you in terms of your journey as an entrepreneur. Some of you may stay as entrepreneurs. Others may decide it's just not right for you, and that you decide to just go to work for somebody else. But entrepreneurship has its great highs and it has its great lows, and it's full of all kinds of interesting learning experiences. I've started 10 different businesses, and out of those 10 businesses I have 3, maybe 3 plus that I can count succeeded. The other 7 failed. As an angel investor, I put money into 40 companies. There are only 3 who've made it. As a venture capitalist, we have a different model, and out of 10 investments, we've had 9 who've succeeded. But those companies were already profitable, and we put money into them to help them grow their business. So what I want to talk with you about tonight are some of the principles that I've learned over the course of being in business for literally 50 years when I think about it, that might guide you. I go around the country, and in some cases I'm in China speaking to entrepreneurs, but I go around to universities and speak on this particular topic. I've been to some famous places. I was recently at Northwestern University, the University of Pennsylvania. Those are places where they have really large entrepreneurial programs. BYU, certainly University of Utah, up at Utah State. But I look and see what we're doing here at this university. We can do as well as anybody else can. We can compete with anybody else because there is no limit. There is no barrier to teaching people with bright minds how to succeed. I think because of my failures and the money I've lost, I could have gone to Harvard many times over. However, I would not have learned as much because reading a book or just doing some simple practicum does not give you the education that actually getting your hands dirty will give you. So I want this next about 30 or so minutes that I'm going to share with you some thoughts. I want it to be very valuable to you. I charge $10,000 an hour to speak. So I'm looking at this and saying, I want you to go away tonight with some fundamentals that will guide you and help you. But I also want to answer any questions you have. Now, some of you may be in a mode right now where you're thinking about a business. Some of you might already be in it. Some of you are struggling. Some may have already succeeded. So I want you to be thinking of questions that you can have me answer. For the most part, I know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so I can give you some pretty good counsel about what you're facing now or what you might face in the future. Is that fair? So take advantage of this next 30, 40 minutes, will you? I want you to go away tonight saying, I got everything answered. I wasn't afraid to ask Mr. Hall a question because he's here tonight to give me some answers, clear answers. Is that fair? So let's start first. I'm going to cross all of these 50 years of being in business, and I'm looking at there's 5 things that fundamentally make up a business, and we're going to talk about each one of those a little bit. So write down the first one. The first fundamental to having a successful business is you have a customer. Isn't that sort of an odd thing to say?
No.
But you have a customer. Now we're going to do a little more on each one of these 5 in a second. But the first one is there's a customer. The second one is you have a solution for that customer. Could be a product, it could be a service. The third thing is you have money to finance the growth of the business. Cash is king. Fourth, you have to have the right people to run your business. And fifth, you have to have the infrastructure, the systems, the processes, the policies, the culture that helps you then to fundamentally move the business forward. Okay? Who can raise their hand and tell me what the 5 basic principles, foundational principles are of a business? Anybody want to raise their hand? Yes, ma'am. What are they? Stand up and use a loud voice.
Okay. Number 1, you have a customer. Number 2, you have a solution for that customer. Number 3, you have money to finance your business. Cash is king, you said. Number 4, you have the right people to run that business. And number 5 is you have the right infrastructure. Okay.
Those all make sense to you?
Yes.
Is there anything else that you've experienced that you think we should add to that list? Anybody have anything else? There are subsets, clearly. But for me, those are probably the foundational pillars. And then we'll take it from there. So let's talk first about customers. And entrepreneurs most of them start inappropriately by coming up with the product first.
Yes.
So let's see. I've failed at least 5 or 6 times because I came up with the shiny object first. Then I went looking for a customer.
Yes.
How many of you have done that so far? You came up with a great killer idea. Professor Walker, what was your idea that you came up with? Would you tell the students?
I had a great antibacterial product. Went to the hospitals, they loved it, wanted to buy it, everybody accepts. The purchasing officer told us we couldn't because they had contracts in place that they couldn't turn away. So we had a great shiny object, but no customer. Pretty disappointing.
It's the initial number 1 reason entrepreneurs fail. The shiny object syndrome, I'll call it. So a quick story. When I was at MarketStar, a large Japanese company came to us and said, we've built 50,000 new digital video cameras, and we need to sell them in the United States. And we want you, MarketStar, to sell these products for us. And I said, okay, let's see what the market wants. So I asked our research team to go out and talk to retailers and to customers and find out if this particular product would go anywhere. It was made by a very large, prestigious Japanese company. The research team came back and said, only 10 stupid people will buy it. I said, this isn't a good start. What happened here? They said, number 1, the product is overpriced. The features really aren't different than what's on the shelf now. Retailers don't want to add a new product to their shelf. So I went back to the president of the Japanese company and I said, sir, here's what we've learned. And he said, look, Mr. Hall, we've got to sell 50,000 of these things. My neck is on the line. The factory has made them, and my job is to sell them. I said, well, here's what we learned. He said, well, please proceed. See what you can do. So, if you will get my sense of humor, we found 10 stupid people who bought their products, and the president was fired and sent back to Japan. Afterwards, he said to me privately, he said, Alan, would you mind coming to Japan to tell the Japanese CEO that we should do research first on a product before we make 50,000 of them? I said, I'd be happy to do that, but I don't think I'll get very far, will I? And he said, no, you won't. I get a Christmas card from him now every year. He's been demoted. He's still with the company, but he no longer is in a leadership position. It wasn't his fault. It turned out that the factory and the engineers are the ones that are responsible to generate the products, but they don't think about marketing research. They think about something cool and they build it. So how many of us get caught in that same sort of a trap? I've done it several times. Dr. Walker has several times. I'm sure some of you in here have done that. So we sort of went negative on the marketing side by talking about the solution first, didn't we? So what's the right way to do that? So let's talk about finding the customers and their needs. All of you are customers. You buy something literally every day, don't you? You go to a retail store, you go somewhere to buy something to satisfy your needs. And if you think about it, there would be a pessimist who would say, every need in the world has already been met. There are no more products or solutions or services that need to be made because we're all very happy. Is that true?
No.
How many of you in this room are happy with the product or services that you are buying today? Anybody totally happy? Just go to bed at night thinking, man, I'm so happy. Anybody got a problem? Anybody have one? You're shaking your head back there. Ball hat, Gators. You happy when you go to bed at night? You got a product?
With my bed, actually, I like that purple bed.
So, think about it for a minute. Maybe we should just close down the entrepreneurship program because there's nothing left to do. Right? So let me tell you about a couple of the things that I worked on that turned out. And part of it that I want to explain to you about finding the market and the customer is you personally have to experience it. And here's how it works. So when I started MarketStar some 28 years ago, I had been in a business where we failed. And we tried to take our product to market in a backward sense. Again, we built the product first and went looking for a market. And it failed. But as I'm going through this exercise, I recognized that there were small startup companies that would need somebody to go out and introduce, promote, and evangelize their products. That is the genesis of MarketStar. So I needed, and this little company that failed, I needed somebody to go out and promote and push and market our product. There was nobody in the world that did that at the time. So I said to myself, I wonder if there are other little startup companies that might use and could use the help of a small team of representatives that would go out and promote and sell their products. I stopped everything I was doing. I said to my wife, look, I've got this idea. This is idea number 10. I want to try another one. Can I second mortgage the house? Will you let me have some money to start this little business? Had it failed, I would have been living in a van down by the river eating government cheese. Fortunately, what happened is I went out to talk to a lot of startup businesses. This was at the time of Microsoft coming out with Windows. Lots of little startup companies were building little applications for it. So I went to all of them and I said, could you use a field team that would go out and promote your product? Because they didn't have employees to do it. How about we do it for you? Well, I needed that back with the company that we started that failed. There wasn't anybody there. Now, we're saying to these companies, we have a solution for you. So the lesson I want you to go away with tonight about finding your market, understanding customer needs, is it's best if you experience it firsthand yourself. Where you have the pain, where you have the need. Because you can internalize that. You can understand that. And when you do, you're better able then to talk to others who might have similar problems. It took 5 years for us at MarketStar before we landed a large customer. It was a company called Lotus Corporation. Lotus made a spreadsheet, 1, 2, 3. But they wanted to come out with now some new Windows applications. They had their salespeople focused on enterprise or big companies. They needed somebody to work in what we call the mid-market, the value-added reseller market. We went to them and said, we can give you full-time MarketStar employees. They'll wear Lotus shirts. They'll look like Lotus. Lo and behold, we have a huge contract with Lotus. Next came Hewlett-Packard. Next came Sony, so on and so on. Because what we then found is the big companies had a greater need for what we could do for them than the little companies did. And it was just because we were living it and talking to people all the time to try and understand their problems. Does this make sense to you?
Yes.
You build a company based upon, frankly, your own need, your own desire, your own pain. And when you do that, you'll find that you're going to be intuitively smarter to get to market with others who have a similar problem. You with me? So let's talk then about, okay, you've got this pain, you're looking at it. The second part of marketing I just want to share for a brief moment with you is you have to differentiate yourself from the competition. I used to always worry that there'd be some guy in New York City in some building over on Park Avenue who came up with the same idea that I did 10 minutes earlier. And the fact is that entrepreneurship and inspiration, if you will, the ideas that flow to us is like sunshine. It just covers the earth. And what I learned out of that is there's nobody that's unique in terms of having the wherewithal, the capability that, you know, you're the only guy or gal in the world that has that idea. It's not so. People that are out there looking have similar problems, so they get the same idea. So now I have to say to myself, okay, I've got this cool thing I experienced in a pain. I've talked to a lot of people that are similar, but I better find out who else is thinking about it right now and is going to come out and compete with me. Which leads me to I have to differentiate my product. I have to find a way to separate myself from any competitor. Now, most of us would always think it's price. Sometimes it is, but generally it's not. It's about other value-added things you bring around your service. Okay? So here's a story I want to tell you that sort of highlights the idea of differentiation and how you would come up with an idea. Now you have to make it really special. It has to do basically with how we treat our customers. So I want you to write this down. This is maybe that $10,000 thing that you would leave here tonight with and say, Alan just taught me something that I should never forget. So this is it. In buying a car, we won't talk about Mr. Young tonight. We'll talk about auto dealers in general. I think he's got it right. So I will use an anonymous name. Is that fair? So here's the story. It's a true story. I have a car that requires from time to time tune-ups, parts, things like that. And the dealership happens to be in Salt Lake City. So I've got a part that I need to install, I need to have it put on because what I've got isn't working. So I contact the dealership and say, I need an appointment. Can you take a look at this car, take a look at this product that I need to have replaced? So I drive down there, it's 45 minutes, and I pull in and I'm now there to have this part looked at, and the manager says to me, I'm so sorry, the guy who does that took the day off. Well, let's see, how do I feel? Am I happy?
No,
Why am I unhappy?
because your needs weren't fulfilled.
No, and did I drive down for 45 minutes?
Yeah.
No, I'm coming back. Hour and a half, right? Okay. So I say to the guy, well, then you call me when the guy's in. Same deal, I go back down, And now this time the guy's there. That's okay. And he looks at the part and he says, we'll get the part in, we'll get it solved, but you'll have to come back again. Third trip. So when I get down there, the guy who's going to install the part now has taken the day off. So the part's there, the right part's there. Now the guy to put it on isn't there. Now I'm thinking to myself, why doesn't the manager call me on the phone and tell me this? Why do I have to drive all the way down there and find out he's not there? Now I'm so unhappy, I'm going to be on the news at 10. And it'll be because the police are hauling me away because I have my hands around the throat of a guy. I want to kill him. Fourth trip, I go back, part's on. I'm happy. So I got the part. I got the right thing. It was probably the right price, I think. I don't know. I didn't shop it per se. But what was the buying experience? Was it fun? Was it lovely?
No.
So should I go build a dealership and compete against that guy? I could, couldn't I? And would I win business if I took care of my customer?
Yes.
I wrote an article for Forbes magazine. Matter of fact, you all go to alanehall.com, ALANEHALL, all one word, lowercase.com. I wrote 100 articles for Forbes magazine on entrepreneurship. And one of the articles I wrote was about listening to your customer, right? And to take advantage of doing everything you can to keep your customers happy.
Yes.
One of the dealerships read the article, and now you see their ads everywhere where they have ears up on the billboard.
Oh, interesting.
Listen to your customer, right? So there's other ways to differentiate. But what I wanted to spell out to you in terms of you got a customer base, you got a market, you have to differentiate, you have to compete. What will it be? And I'll tell you, the number one is you take care of your customer. Nordstrom does a great job of that, don't they? You can almost wear shoes for a month and still take the shoes back because they want to keep that customer. Disney does the same thing. They'll do anything to keep you happy.
Is it not true, or correct me if I'm wrong, that the financials show that it makes more sense to try to keep a customer than it does financially to invest in trying to win back a customer, and acquisition costs associated?
Yeah, acquisition costs high to begin with, but if you have to repeat that, and it's harder the second time because you've abused them, right? Very hard. And a happy or a dissatisfied customer tells 7 other people.
Yes.
So if you want to build your brand, it's built upon basically saying, I take care of my customer, and that customer will tell 7 other people how good I am or how bad I am, right? Okay, there's more to talk about on that topic, but we'll let it go tonight. You find your customer by experiencing it, and you differentiate yourself by taking care of your customer. All right, now back to that product. We sort of talked about, let's do that after we've talked to the customer. So here's how you build the product. You go out and talk to everybody you can about, here's my idea. You go back to the lab after you've talked to them and say, okay, I'm going to do this to it, I'm going to do that to it. Now I'm going to go back to those people and say, what do you think? Is this close? Is this sort of what you had in mind? What do you think? Is it about the right shape, right color, about the right price? Give me some more feedback. Now back to the lab you go, and you continue to iterate the next best version of that product or service. And you do that multiple times, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until you have exactly what that customer wants. Exactly what they want. Not what you want, it's what they want. So what we learned at MarketStar, and we continue to repeat today, is because we want to keep our customers, we want to keep each HP, we want to keep Intel. Every quarter we visit with them and say, how we doing? How we doing? Do you like it? Is there something you want us to do different? What do you think? What do you think? We are always sitting with them trying to understand what they want us to do better. And every quarter we improve. Every quarter. Because I know my competitors are trying to come around behind me and steal those customers away from us. So we're fearful of losing a customer. And therefore we're going to talk to them. And the product and service is built continually to make that person happy, make that customer happy. You okay with me on that? Products and services then are a means to make the customer happy. Write that down. I mean, that's the only reason you have a business, is to make somebody happy. And if they're not happy with what you're giving them, it's not going to work. Let me pause there and take a drink of water and see if anybody has a question based on what I've said so far.
Have you ever decided to walk away from a potential customer because you could see that satisfying is going to be almost impossible?
We walked away from an IBM piece of business. IBM came out with their own laptop. It was way after everybody else. There was nothing we felt like we could do. They wanted to pay us handsomely. They wanted us to do our job. We just didn't feel like they'd ever be happy. And we resigned the account. There's just sometimes when you really have to say to yourself, this customer isn't worth it. Not worth the hassle, not worth the pain. And there are plenty of customers. Let's go now to money. Wow. After you've built sort of this idea of a product, how you're going to differentiate it, and how you're going to keep your customer happy, you have to have money to build the product. You have to have money to facilitate payroll, to pay overhead, to pay for travel, for all kinds of budgets. And then you have to worry about growth. Most companies that I deal with in terms of a venture capitalist they get the business up and running, all of a sudden they run out of cash because they have inventory problems now. They have to buy so much inventory that they can't get the cash flow back in time to pay their bills to get the next inventory ordered. And they flat go out of business. Greatest idea since mankind, but they run out of cash. So one of those $10,000 points for you is you have to understand how much money it's going to take to get it started, operate it, and grow it. And we'll talk about where to get money next. But you have to have those in mind. I got to start it, I've got to operate it, and I've got to grow it. Without those three in place, your idea will not materialize. So where can we get money? Let's say tonight we all decided on a great new company, a great new product. Where do we go get money? Who's got money? Where do we go get it? Anybody know? Is there a place where there's a vault and money in Ogden?
I want to know.
Can we go to Zions Bank and get a loan? Or will they just give us the money, no strings attached? Okay, the bank is the last place you get money. Last place you get money. You know why? Because they want you to pay them back. And guess what? You can't pay them back. You need your money for growth. Not only that, they want security, which means they want your house, your car, whatever else you have that's an asset. They won't give you a dime. They're going to make sure if it fails that they can come and get your house, get your car, so they can pay the loan off. So why does a bank exist? A bank exists for companies that don't need money, frankly. You know, a big auto dealer, they can go get a loan to factor and have cars brought in on the lot, but they have a 10-year record of how they can pay those loans off. It's all managed very carefully with cash flow and whatnot. They can get a loan. But entrepreneurs, if you can get a bank loan, you'll be like 1 in a million. So don't think about going to the bank. It's not going to work. Well, if it's not a bank, where else do we get money?
Friends and family.
Excuse me?
Friends and family.
Okay, so let's start with family, friends, and fools. That's the first place.
Come on now.
No, you start with yourself. You start with your own money, your own resources. You sell whatever to get some cash to get it going, knowing fully well it's only going to take you so far.
Right.
An investor, which I'll talk about in a minute, I'm not going to give anybody any money unless they put some skin in the game. They have better put some hard-earned assets, turn to cash into the business. Because I want them to not sleep at night. I want them thinking about making this business succeed. So it starts with you. Then we go to family, friends, and fools. Yeah, because those who are going to give us money are grandma who would really like to help you out. She'll give you $10,000. Your great uncle's got some and he'll give you some. There's a crazy friend who'll give you a few dollars. But you know what? They're giving it to you because it's you. They have no idea if this business will pan out or not. They have no clue. They're giving it because it's you. I have investors and some things I'm doing right now, highly speculative. The money they've given to me is just because I'm their friend. Now here's the good side of that is it gives you some cash flow to get it started and operate it, not yet a lot of money to grow. But if I lose that guy's money, that lady friend's money, I can't have Sunday dinner with her very easily anymore. So I'm always very careful if I'm going to take money from a relative or a friend because I have to see him again. And the last thing I want them to do is all day long to berate me because I lost their hard-earned money. But it's what we do, right? All right, third, if you've got your business going where the business model can show success, you now have some customers, you actually see some cash flow that's positive, now you come see me, an angel investor. And I'm going to look at it and say, I'll give you some money, but there are strings attached. So should we talk about the strings attached? Yeah. I want control of your business. I want majority ownership in your business. I want to tell you what to do. Why do I do that?
Security.
Because I'm taking my money now as an angel investor, and I want to make sure I get 10 times my money in return. 10 times.
Is it that in the angel community here in Utah?
Utah, yeah.
Is it that tight?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Because we get 1 out of 10 that wins. That means we have 9 losses. So I want you to think, if I've got 9 losses, and I thought they were good, I've got to have 1 of those that will cover my losses and make some additional money.
Even in biotech like in Logan?
Oh, that's even worse. I mean, that's, because those are high risk, right?
Yeah, well, that's true.
So you can get money from me, but guess what? I want your right arm. I want your next of kin. I want you. And I'm going to tell you what to do. Is it fair that I do that? Well, you don't have to take my money. Right? Welcome to the world of angel investing. It's not that we're bad guys, it's that we have to sort of play the odds. We have to get money into companies that will succeed. We then have to tell you have to sell that business in 5 to 7 years. Because the only way I can get my money back is I have to sell that business and harvest that. So I've got now some money back in my pocket and I can do it again. But I made interest, I made money on that. So you bring a partner in like me, like an angel investor, and it's like, man, do I really want to marry this guy? I mean, wow. Well, a lot of entrepreneurs do. 40 entrepreneurs that I worked with did. Because we brought some value to their business as well. We wanted to help them. We did everything in our power to show them how to do this, how to do that. Is that fair? Mm-hmm. All right. The last one is, from an angel investor, we go to a venture capitalist. Mm-hmm. So I'm both. As a venture capitalist, it's even more control. It's even more rigor. It's even more, we're going to tell you what to do. And that is because we find that we have to replace every entrepreneur we put money in. In the first fund that Mercado had, we put money into 10 companies. We replaced 9 entrepreneur founders, 9 of them.
Replace the founders.
We got rid of them.
Yeah, often.
And the reason was, what we found out is that they could not take the company to the next step. They did not know how, they didn't have the wherewithal to take their business and move it forward. But some do. I mean, that one was called Skull Candy.
Yeah,
Anybody have Skull Candy in here? Anybody ever had a Skull Candy?
right, yeah.
We didn't replace that CEO until just before we took the company public. And then we brought in another CEO. We needed somebody who could do that, who had taken a company on a public offering. Yes?
Are you usually bringing someone from the team to replace? Are you usually bringing someone else like that's on that team to replace the CEO, or is it something like an?
Yeah, we generally have to bring in somebody out from outside.
Okay.
Yes.
I do work with, I used to be an advisor at Astia, which,
Yeah.
you know Astia?
Uh-huh.
They specialize with women entrepreneurs, and I was a marketing advisor on the team. The team has different experts. And I always tell the startups to kind of expect that and get their heads around it
Yeah.
and be okay with it.
Yeah.
What are the odds that you would be so
Good at it.
brilliant and able to do everything, that you could come up with a product, you could market it, you could run a company and lead people all in one human being?
That's really
And
hard.
It's that you just need to be able to be okay with understanding that you'll be part of a team, but you're going to have other people on that team, and have
Right.
the best people
Right.
do the best jobs.
Now, you know what? That's not the last startup I'm going to have, right? Okay, I learned I might have done fairly well, made something, and now I'm out of there, but guess what? I've got my next one, and I'm doing it again.
What would you say was the difference between the founder of Skull Candy and the other ones that failed?
You know, they did not know how to manage lots of people. That was the biggest problem, which is my next topic, right? They brought in neighbors, they brought in friends who were incompetent. They couldn't do their jobs. And that killed the founder because he didn't have people who could do it. They just didn't. So why should we worry about this conversation about money? Is if you're an entrepreneur and you can do this, you can run this without getting anybody else's money. You can scramble. You can just figure out how to make every dime count, and you don't have to bring anybody in. That's the best world on earth. That's the best possible world on earth. But it won't be done because you have a product that needs inventory. No. You'd have to build it based upon a business that is not linear, which is, a product sort of a model. You build on a product that's exponential, which would be generally software technology, because you don't need inventory, right? So if you look at a Google, does Google have inventory? No, not at all. See my point? So for those who can build something that doesn't require putting money into the product itself, other than development, that's probably the best place for an entrepreneur in this age to build a business. All right, let's move to people. I've only got a few more minutes. As I mentioned, most companies that we associate with that don't make it is because from the CEO on down, they had no clue how to run a business. And I'm gonna list for you then how you find the right people, okay? And when you read one of the art, actually in alanehall.com, there's a little ebook called Hiring the Right People. The 7 C's of Hiring. So what I would have you do is I'll have you reference that and go look at that. I'll just give you some highlights of it. And my reason for having written the book and shared it with people is most of us do step number 1 out of 7, and forget the rest. And that's where we get in trouble. So let me just describe it this way. Most of us will come up with a job description of what somebody needs to do inside the business. Marketing, sales, accounting, you name it, whatever it is. Because the CEO now needs to rise above and manage the whole versus individual business efforts. So the CEO then sits down and he or she writes up a job description for that financial officer, let's say. And then they can advertise on the internet, they could hire a recruiting firm, they can talk to family and friends, but anyway, they come up with a pool of the names of people that they're going to try and match to the job description. So they'll go through a stack of resumes until they find, 3 or 4 that seem to match pretty good with what the job is. They then do a little interview with them, ask them a few questions, and then they make a decision and they hire somebody. And they're okay in terms of competency. But the other 6 that they didn't do any due diligence on is really where the rubber meets the road. So when you read this little book called The 7 C's of Hiring, the one I found across all of the other 6 that quickly made it impossible for that employee to work and get their job done on, as far as I was concerned, was they weren't compatible. I wanted to kill them.
From a cultural perspective?
Yeah, culture. It was all culture. So what happens is you forget that there's these other things you need to understand about the person, but the one that always got and gets everybody in trouble was they're not compatible with you. They're not compatible with the guy or gal who's running the business. And what that means is they have a different culture. They have a different way of thinking. They have a different way of carrying out their tasks, and they tend to rebel against the CEO. They think they're smarter than the CEO. They think they know it better. And what happens is that person then talks to the other employees, and you end up having sort of a mutiny. You have rebellion among the company. So I invite you to read this little article and say to yourself, when I interview anybody, I'm going to interview them against the 7 criteria, not the 1. And when you do that, your odds will increase. So historically, I bat about 500%, which means half the people I hire stay, half the people I have to get rid of. Because I can't stand them. They won't do what I tell them. And they have to listen to me. I'm the CEO, for heaven's sakes. We're not running a democracy here. Do I sound like Donald Trump or something? These people that come to work for you have to be competent, but they've got to get along. It's all about how you behave and work with each other. And a lot of businesses implode. Greatest idea ever. And the company just dissolves because the people can't get along. And then sometimes that financial officer who came to work for you decides, hey, I'm going to go start this business on myself. And guess what? The United States government allows you to do that. They can run with and go compete against you. As long as you don't steal their intellectual property, you can go run against them.
I've mentored startups, but I've also worked in startups. And the last startup I worked in, the only startup I worked in, had 2 founders. Well, yes, yeah. But I'm assuming that you come up against that sometime. Maybe you don't, maybe because you don't fund them.
No.
But that created, just for all of you, just know that creates an automatic point of problem.
Oh yeah.
Unless you have I had a business where my partner and I had a clear understanding of roles. She was the creative director. She made all decisions on creative and a subject. I was a strategic decision maker. I made all decisions on strategy, end of subject.
Yeah.
But unless you have some kind of a delineation that's
Right.
ironclad,
Yeah.
your employees will work to cause division.
Yep.
And when you're a startup and you're competing against Google and Logitech, you cannot afford to have that kind of dissension
No.
in your organization.
No, thank you for bringing that up. So, I would counsel you based upon that, none of you get in a business where you have a partner. Just don't do it. I don't care how much you like them, because in a short amount of time you will hate them, and they will hate you. Don't do it. No partners. You, as the founder, visionary, have to do it your way. You can't have somebody else trying to do that. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Let's say you're dependent on a partner to start a business.
And what do they? You have to ask. What do they bring to the table that you have to have? And can they be an employee versus a partner?
I'm talking about like immigration wise, because I would like to start up a business here, but I'm not a citizen, so I would have to partner up with.
Because you'd need an American citizen. I don't have an easy answer for that one because of the dynamics of what we're talking about right now. I would wait and become a citizen and then do it yourself. Okay? Is that a fair answer? All right, last topic, and then leave a few questions for you. So the last one was about infrastructure, having policies, procedures, steps of how you process, how you do things. And early on in a business, most entrepreneurs don't have these things in place. I'm going to have you think of it as bureaucracy. Businesses need checks and balances. They need approvals. There needs to be lines of authority. Early on in your business, if it's you and a couple of people doing it, you sort of can sit around the kitchen table and figure it out. But as your organization grows, all of a sudden you have to have things in place. So I started MarketStar in my basement. There was myself and a couple of other people that I'd hired. Today, we're, 6,000 employees, worldwide operations, generating billions in sales for the Intels and HPs of the world. We've become a bureaucracy. We're nothing but checks and balances and processes that you have to do every day when you come to work. That's why I'm not there anymore. I don't like that. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't want to be a manager of processes. Now, fortunately, the business got to a point where I could sell it, and I'm on my way. But where a lot of businesses get in trouble is they don't have a system in place, a process of how you deal with each other, how you deal with customers and vendors, how you deal with the banks, who's signing, who's got authority, and all of a sudden, you wake up one morning and the bank calls you and says, you're in the hole $100,000. And you go, well, how could that be? I think we got $200,000 in the bank, not in the hole. And the bank officer says, but Fred, who works for you as your CFO, your accountant, he's paid some bills, and now you don't have any money left. And you look at Fred and say, Fred, shouldn't we have talked about that? And Fred said, I don't know, but I went ahead and paid all those bills off, so no, we don't have any more money. Well, boom, the business is done. Done. So, again, great businesses require some discipline of some of the things we've talked about here tonight. Got just a couple minutes before I have to go, but I want to answer any questions you have. Did I do okay? Did I give you at least some fundamentals to think about? We didn't, this is a whole lecture of a whole semester when you think about entrepreneurship and beyond, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So, actually, the question I had at the beginning, you talked about all the failures that you had.
Yeah.
My question is, what kept you going through the failures? I mean, you took out a second mortgage for MarketStar. I feel like I kind of want to stick my head in the sand and be like, shit, 0 for 10. Guess this isn't just for me.
You've asked the right question, because what separates an entrepreneur from somebody who ought to go work at the post office is somebody who never gives up. They never, ever give up. They say, okay, I learned not to do that. I won't do that again. It's like I put my hand on the stove and got burned. Well, I won't do that again. But you know what? I'm driven, and I'm almost 72. I still have ideas. My wife's like, give it up. And I'm like, no, I can't give it up. I'm like, the vampire in the casket. You got to drive the stake through my heart, because I have ideas. I want to pursue them. That's the difference. You just have a dream and a vision, and you can't give up. Failure is a lesson, not a mistake.
What are the main differences or the benefits of, you're talking about, or you've started nonprofits? What's the main differences between starting a nonprofit and just a
Yeah, so I've been heavily involved in the not-for-profit world half of my life. I was president of Ballet West for a long time. I helped not-for-profit charities all over the state. And the biggest difference is the people who run the not-for-profits and the people who run startup businesses are about the same. Neither one know what the heck they're doing. The not-for-profits don't have business acumen. They don't follow good business principles. They try and work with donors. They go back and they spend their money, and then they're back talking to donors that got to have more money. And so I actually go out and give lectures to the not-for-profit world to say, run it like a business, for heaven's sakes. So that world needs just as much instruction, counsel, mentoring as the for-profit world needs. And matter of fact, as Jeannie and I give money to charities here in Weber County, we are happy that some fold and go away, because there's a better one that's going to lead and go somewhere. The other one is so poorly run, we just are happy it dies. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's a great question. Yeah.
Alan, so I'm the chair of the English department, and I increasingly see Weber State as a university that is highly entrepreneurial in nature. You have this unique perspective as a person who's been our chairman of the board of trustees for a long time, of course, all your business experience. To what degree do you think that a department or a college could implement ideas along the terms of trying to figure out what the customer wants? Because
man, I love what you're saying. Can I build a statue of you and put it out in the... Can I be frank?
Yes,
yeah.
Please.
I think higher ed is a little bit of a dinosaur. Sort of like the newspaper business is a dinosaur and may not last long. Here's my point. Universities, like newspapers, are content driven. You have content, right? You instruct. It's content. What if I came up with a different way to deliver content that was better than what the university did, and I was able to attract customer students to what I've got to deliver? There are people out there trying to do that, aren't there? So, working with the Board of Regents, working with the president, this campus by far is more entrepreneurial than all the other ones. What I would have all the professors look at would be to sit down and go see customers all the time. Now, in this case, it's not it's the market star customer. It's people who will hire students in the future, people who want them to have educated workforce, and saying to them, what do you want? What do you want these kids to know? So that when they leave, they're better prepared to jump into the workforce. Now, there are 40,000 jobs right now in Utah that are open we can't fill. 40,000. And I'm saying to higher ed, why in the world don't you fill those 40,000? You got how many tens of thousands of students across the state of Utah? Let's go figure out how to get them educated and fill those 40,000 jobs. They're high-paying jobs. So I like the idea of we should be innovative, a little bit risk-taking, pilot some things, see how things work, but always talking to the customer, always talking to the customer. Your student's not the customer, I don't think. I think it's those who will
You think
hire
it's the
them.
employer? You think it's the employer that's the
Well,
customer?
totally. How many of you here, now I'm going to be giving a talk to to higher ed in October about this topic. How many of you came to Weber to just get to be really good citizens? How many of you came here to go get a job? Raise your hand. What are the rest of you doing here then?
Make my own job. Make my own job.
But you're here for a reason. What is it?
Well, to get educated.
Get educated so you can start your own job, because you're entrepreneurs, right? But how many of your peers on campus are here just to be good citizens, learn about history, psychology, whatever, and aren't worried about going out and getting a job? Are they here to get a job?
Yeah.
Or am I not reading my marketplace very well? Now, faculty will bump heads with me like, it's educate the whole person, but I'm saying that's good too. I'm a psychology graduate, so I get the humanities, I get the social sciences, and how important it is to me as a business guy. I would like everybody to have that. But universities ought to be saying, how can we get you through here faster and cheaper, and you take the classes you need, go get a job. Now, there are some sciences that can't do that. There are just some things that can't do that. So it's a good thing I'm no longer the chairman. Man, they'd be firing me, wouldn't they?
What about voters? Can you ask everybody how many people plan to vote?
Do you want me to go there?
Yes, because my future and my son's future is in the hands of these people.
Well, they're all going to vote for the right person. I mean,
I don't care who they vote for. I just want them to vote.
Okay, who's not going to vote in the election? Raise your hand. Who's not going to vote? You're not. Well, these two over here. You guys from Zimbabwe? Where are you from?
Germany.
Where are you from?
Germany.
Germany.
Ausgezeichnet.
Two beautiful German girls who can't vote. The rest of you go vote, right? Go vote. I think it for me, I have a preference, but no matter what, I'm going to go vote because it's my dang right to do it. And I'm not going to let anybody stop me from doing it, right? That is America to me. Right. Hey, thanks for letting me talk to you and harangue here a little bit. This was fun to be with you. You're the ones that can move our world forward, but keep this last thought in mind. Everything we ever to do is to bless the lives of other people.
Yes.
Period. Whether it's with a service, a product, or not for profit. We are here to get some knowledge, use it well, and bless the lives of as many people as we can in any way we can.
Yes.
And when you do that, you'll be happy.
Yes.
Okay? It's not about us making money. It's about us taking care of customers. The money flows if we do a good job. Right. So thank you so much.